Well, good evening, everyone. Hope you guys all had a fabulous Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, I hope you guys were able to maybe thank somebody that has served in the country, or maybe not, but at least you were maybe thankful for their sacrifice. And obviously, that's always a great thing. But obviously, we got a day off for it. Obviously, the markets were closed today. So we'll take a look at a couple of things here. We'll take a look at what the Bitcoin charts are right now as far as hash rate. What's the other one? We'll look at some charts. I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm tired. I've been working all day in the garage, painting and stripping things. We'll look at that. We'll also take a look at, obviously, the miners. What is the cost to mine one Bitcoin right now for electricity for the miners, and what is it going to be when they are fully installed? So this was actually a question that I believe his name was Richard, mentioned on the Spaces on Saturday. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it's a great space. A lot of great conversations there. But he basically asked, what is, if I had the data on it, and what would be the cost on it? So we'll look at some data there that I have on it. We'll get into all the details on it, and we'll call it a day. And then we'll get into the Q&A side of things, okay? But as always, you guys know this, not financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. I'm invested in following coins and companies for full disclosure. And I'm not paid by any Bitcoin mining company, as always. So hit the like button if you enjoy this type of content. Helps me out tremendously. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe, because I go through a lot of data on the miners here. So if you're interested in the miners, subscribe. But let's take a look at some of the Bitcoin charts that we do have here. So here's the first chart that we have here, which is obviously on the total hash rate of Bitcoin network. It is going up like crazy right now. This is the 7-day average. I was surprised when I pulled this up just a couple minutes ago, but the network hash rate is up to 657 exahash on the 7-day average. If we look at the 1 day, I want to see where that's at. Okay, it definitely peaked quite high here. It peaked at 704 exahash, and then it went back down to 515. So something was getting plugged in, something's getting unplugged as well. If we look at the 30-day average, that's starting to pick back up as well. We are now at approximately 606 exahash on the network hash rate for the 30-day average. And then going down here, Bitcoin transaction fees, we can see that we are at 22 right now on the day. So it's come up a little bit here. Still not a lot. Then when we look at the actual hash price for Bitcoin, that has come up here a little bit to approximately, 55, and it's come back down to approximately 54. So down about $1 and change, something like that. Not too bad. Bitcoin, on the other hand, at least I love what I'm seeing here on Bitcoin. It is actually trading sideways, or traded sideways over the weekend, right? So there's no CME futures gap in there, which is great for us, I think. That way we don't have to possibly fill that gap going forward. It's not always that it gets filled, but majority of the time it does get filled. Okay, so we are back to where we basically started here on Friday. Friday we closed at, what do we close at? 68,547. We are down to 68,618. So we're basically to where we started back on Friday, or ended Friday. So this is great news. We'll see obviously where Bitcoin goes tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday. We'll have the miners obviously. Well, I don't know if we're going to get any details on the miners, but we'll get some maybe updates from them. Maybe, we'll see. But that is it for Bitcoin and stuff like that. So let's get into what did the miners, or what's the cost of electricity for the miners right now compared to what it's going to be when they are fully installed for their reported hash rate growth going forward. And we'll run some assumptions as far as where the network hash rate could be at that point and see how that obviously impacts the miners here. Okay. So I was able to gather as best as I could the electricity cost on some of these guys here. If I'm using 5 cents, so Q3 for like BitDeer, they reported 0.03, so 3.2 cents per kilowatt hour, but does not include like transmission fees, taxes, etc. So I included like 2 cents to that, bumped them up to 5. They might be a little bit lower than that, but it's pretty close, right? BitDigital, they're hosting, so this is approximation of 6 cents per kilowatt hour for them. Bitfarms reported here recently as well that they're about 4 cents per kilowatt hour on average. Cypher's at 2.7 cents per kilowatt hour. Cleanspark recently came in at 4.4, same as CORZ. Hive, couldn't find the information on them as far as what they have, so I put them at 5 cents. They could be a little bit lower, like 4 something. Hut 8, Sue has reported, or at least stated, that they're like at 4.5 cents per kilowatt hour there. So I'm guessing Hive would be probably around there as well. IREN reported here recently that their costs are 3.7 cents. Marathon, I'm guessing 5.5 cents. They own 55% of their infrastructure. They still have some infrastructure that's basically not theirs, and they're hosting with those companies there. So I basically dialed them down to like 5.5 cents for that on average. Riot came in at 3.8 cents and TeraWolf at 4.5, and this is all for self-mining only. This does not include any joint venture stuff in there. Okay, so that keeps that in mind here. Next line in here is the average watts. What is the current average watts? This is basically as of April. Numbers that we have for them, and this is based on, if we look at like, let's just take a look at Riot here. Right. So we have all these miners here. I'm going by the manufacturer's data as far as what the wattage is for all those, or if it's reported by the company, I'll go with that data for that information there, okay? So that's kind of what we're going by there, and we're using the average watts for what they're installed, average hash rate at the end of April, average joules per terahash, obviously based on the number of miners, watts, all that stuff, and then the average mine electricity cost, what that actually would cost on average across the board, right? They have some miners that are like 100 terahash, others have, and then you might also have miners that are like 200 terahash, right? So this is the average of all those miners being plugged in. Then the number of miners down here. And I'm also looking at their 5-month average uptime. So that is a percentage of their uptime. And then the total current electricity cost, which would be for the 1 day, I believe, because we're just going by that. Number of miners, average electricity cost, what that would be. So that's kind of where we're getting the total electricity cost for the day. This is just per day on that. And then we're looking at the hash rate that they have. So BitDeer is at 6 exahash, BitDigital is at 2.6 exahash on average, right, based on their operational uptime. Bitfarms at 6.7, Cypher at 5.9, almost 6 exahash for self-mining. Cleanspark at 17, Core at 19.8. We got Hive at 4.8, Hut 8 at 3.6 roughly. And then we got Iris at 9 exahash, based on the number here. Marathon at 21 exahash, and Riot at 8.3, followed by TeraWolf at 5.7 exahash. Okay, and then percentage of the network hash rate. So what is their percentage of the network hash rate based on what they actually have? And then we're getting the actual number of BTC mined that they could possibly mine during that day, based on 450 BTC per day. Percentage of that, what is that percentage that they would get? So BitDeer would get 4.5, BitDigital 2 BTC, Bitfarms 5 BTC, Cypher 4.4. Based on that, then we got Cleanspark at 12.7, Core at 14.7, Hive at 3.6, Hut 8 at 2.7, Iris at 6.7, Marathon at 15.6, Riot at 6.2, and TeraWolf at 4.2. Okay, and then we're calculating that based on what is the actual cost per day, dividing that by the number of BTC that they could potentially mine, right? I'm not including any transaction fees in there as well. So this is what we're getting here for BitDeer. It's about 52,000 right now. BitDigital 53,000. Bitfarms 35,000. Cypher 22,000, right? Cypher I think is like the lowest one here right now. Followed by Cleanspark at, well, not followed by, but next is Cleanspark 34,000. CORZ at 36,000. Hive is at 44,000. Hut 8 is at 48,000. Iris at 30,000. Marathon at 41,000. You got Riot at 35,000 and TeraWolf at 34,000. Based on the network hash rate of 605 exahash right now, BTC price doesn't really matter on that, but it's at 69,000 roughly, 68,000, whatever it is right now. Okay, so what happens when they get fully installed to their future hash rate, right, that they're supposed to get to? And I left the same numbers here for BTC price, hash rate, figures as well. Block reward obviously is going to be the same for the next 3+ years, so that's not going to change there. But when we do look at it here, we have obviously the joules per terahash will change. Let's see here if we have the hash rate here as well. I thought I had the hash rate. There we go. So BitDeer is going to be about 7.8 exahash. Once fully installed, BitDigital, they're saying that they're going to grow, but they haven't released any information as far as what they're buying. So I still have at 2.6. Bitfarms is going to be at 20.2 based on the average hash rate here currently. So if that goes forward, that's what we're looking at here. Cypher is going to be about 15 exahash. Cleanspark 55 exahash. But I think they're going to change out some of the older miners, so that might actually impact their score a little bit, just slightly, not much. Core is going to be still at the same. We don't have any information from them on that side of things. Hive 5.8, Hut 8 at 3.6, right? No growth really there. Iris 28.8, Marathon 40.9 based on their operational uptime. If they fix that going forward, that should improve as well. Riot at 36.7, and I gave Riot a benefit of the doubt with Corsicana and having much better uptime. So if we go by actually the number up here, 66.7, let's do that. Let's go by what they have actually right now, so we'll make it all fair. 66.7, there we go. Okay, so then they're at like 27 exahash based on the fact that they could actually have like 40 exahash, right? And then we got TeraWolf here at 12.5 exahash. And then here's how we came up with the numbers here for them. So average electricity per BTC, if everything stayed the same here, network hash rate, all that stuff, right? Electricity difference for, this would be BitDeer, would actually decrease for them about $10,000 in price. So it'd come down to 41,000 from the 52 that we had up here. We got BitDigital at still at 53 because they really don't have any miners being installed here. Then we got also Bitfarms going down to 27,000, right? We got Cypher going down to 20,000 compared to 22,000. Then we got Cleanspark going down to 26 from 34,000. And then here's the difference down below here. We got TeraWolf basically being the same. There's zero change on them. Let's see here. What do we have here? This is Hive. Hive was going to be down a little bit here, 6,000. Then we got Hut 8. Same thing, right? We don't have any information as far as miners being purchased. Then we got Iris going down to 24, so that's a decrease of 5.6. Then we got Marathon going down to 37. That's a 4.6 thousand decrease for them. And then Riot would be going down to 25. That would be a 9.9 thousand decrease for them. So that's obviously the most here, I think, except for maybe BitDeer going down 10,000. And then we got TeraWolf going down to 30,000. That's a decrease of 4.6 thousand in cost for them. All right, but that's if the network hash rate stays at where it's at right now. If the network hash rate is going to grow, like we believe it's going to grow, I'm saying somewhere by the end of the year, which some of these guys may not reach their targets, obviously not until sometime in 2025. So let's do this. I think Bitcoin network hash rate is going to be maybe between 800 and 900 exahash by the end of the year here. That's kind of my estimate right now on it. So let's just go in the middle here to 850, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so check this out. So this actually changes things a little bit here. Because of the huge increase in network hash rate from where we are right now, basically going up to 250 exahash or so, you can see here that everybody, for the most part, everybody and their uncle is up as far as the hash, their cost to mine one single BTC at that point. Even though their hash rate has increased, their efficiencies have increased, but the network hash rate has an impact. It has a huge impact on the cost to mine one Bitcoin. So you can see here that now BitDeer is actually going to be paying 6.3 thousand more. BitDigital is going to be paying 21,000 more. Bitfarms is going to be paying only 2.3 thousand more. Cypher 6,000 more. Cleanspark 2.5 thousand more. Core 14.9 thousand because we don't have any information as far as their hash rate growth forward. Hive 8.7, almost 8.8 thousand. Hut 8, $19,000 more. Iris 4.2. Marathon 10.4 thousand. Riot $465 only, so they're probably like the lowest here increase. Their efficiency is probably improving the most here, I think, out of everybody here, from where they are right now to where they're supposed to get to. And then TeraWolf up 7.5 thousand. Okay, now if we're looking at maybe, let's just say 12 months out, right? At that point, I think we're going to be probably, wow, it's hard to say, but I think we're going to be maybe at around 850 at the end of the year. Give or take a little bit. Let's say we're going to be at 1,050 exahash at that point, right? At that point, if the miners get installed, everything by then, so basically the middle of next year, we're looking at BitDeer paying 20,000 more, BitDigital paying 39,000 more. You're going to have Bitfarms 11,000 more, Cypher at 12,000.8, Cleanspark 11.3 thousand. Core 27,000 more, Hive 21,000 more as well. Let's see here, Hut 8 35,000, Iris 12.2 thousand, and Marathon 22,000, and Riot 8.9 thousand, and TeraWolf 17.5 thousand more roughly. So you can see this is definitely a huge number here. So we obviously need for a lot of these guys for Bitcoin to be at least above 100,000 for them to be profitable here. At that point, right, if they're not going to be improving their efficiencies, hash rate, and things like that, like we do have here with Bitdigital's the same boat, Core, Hut 8, right? Those guys, we don't have a lot of growth here from them, at least not reported or not provided yet. So I hope you guys found this interesting. I sure did, the way this is going to actually work out. And it makes sense. Network hash rate going up is definitely going to have an impact on the cost to mine one single Bitcoin, right? So the best thing they could have done is grown before the halving event and into the halving event, like a lot of them are now. And the best thing we can hope for is network hash rate not going up as much as it is. But when we just looked at it here, we saw that the network hash rate was going up quite nicely here again, especially on the 7-day, right? It's way up. It's the highest that we've seen it here, 657 exahash. The prior high was only 650, so 7 exahash more since this was back in April. So about a month ago or so. So we had that halving event come down, and then we're back up to where we were within basically, 2 weeks or so from the bottom here, roughly, that we bottomed out May 9th. And then we've continued to go back up, right? Bitcoin price is staying up where it's at. That's obviously having an impact on it as well. But that is it. Let me know what you guys think of this. I'll make this obviously available to you guys here. It's going to be under electric cost now and future in the sheets. And that will be available to my Patreon members here. You guys will have access to that later on tonight. You guys can play around with the data all you want. It's $8 a month. The link for this is going to be in the description in the video. And if you pay for the annual subscription, you get 10% off. And there might be a couple spots open at $5 and $4 still. And you get access to all this stuff as well. All right, so that's it. So let's get into the Q&A side of things, see if you guys have anything that you want to talk about, questions, things like that. And just remember, it takes, I'm delayed by about 15 minutes or so. So be patient. I will get through to all your guys' questions here, and we'll call it a day. So it should be pretty easy. Let me scroll over to my thing here. Okay. Let's see here. So, okay, we got quite a few questions from Brad here. Let's see. Okay. So let's start with Brad's question here. Question. Spaces Talk, you co-hosted, focused heavily on IREN. IREN, particularly its infrastructure potential compared to other miners. Okay, I guess there's more to it. Let's see here. Can you elaborate on IREN's infrastructure potential to add megawatts as compared with other miners? I read on X that it has the option to go to 3 gigawatts with its current land and power. Yeah, that's the same thing that we heard. It's undisclosed right now, the information from them. I think, was it Childress is 600 megawatts or 800 megawatts? I can't remember exactly. I think it's 600 megawatts. But they do have potential to get to 3 gigawatts, which they have not disclosed on those, but they said that they are in the pipeline, right? So we'll have to see. So that would make them the biggest as far as current deals, I guess, in place for megawatts improvement or megawatts growth going forward. Let's see here. And power contracts. Can you verify and compare this with the other miners in the space? Yeah, I'll probably look into this. I'll have to do some research on the other miners as far as what they have planned and what they are now at. But IREN is going to be definitely the biggest one right now. Riot is going to be at like 1 point something gigawatts between Corsicana and their other facility, which is Rockdale as well. So, but yeah. Hi, Sebastian. Good evening. As I heard that Cleanspark bought Wyoming site and the site got banned by the U.S. government, are the same data centers it's got confirmed or not? Do you have any information? I reached out to Matt a couple of days ago. I haven't heard anything, but I saw articles on it as well that Cleanspark reported to it that they were unaware of that ban going forward or that ban happening. So I'm guessing it's true. I thought it was different sites, right? Why would the U.S. government ban a site that's being purchased by a U.S. miner? That didn't make any sense to me. So it looks like it is confirmed that they are buying the Chinese site there, which I think it should work out, right? They stated in the article, one of the articles, that they are working to get that resolved and get that all figured out, because why shouldn't it get resolved if it's a U.S. Bitcoin miner, right? So we'll have to see how that all plays out. I don't have any definitive information on it right now. Hopefully Matt will respond back, and I even tagged him in one of the questions you guys had in Twitter as well. I'm like, Matt, can you shed some light on this, right? We'd like to know, obviously, what's going on there. So when I do have some information, obviously, I'll provide it to you guys. Let's see. Next question from Brad here. You mentioned you are eyeing CORZ now that IREN is starting to run up. What's your strategy on allocating into these two miners if their prices continue to climb, when will they be too expensive to buy? IREN, I think IREN can still do a 5 to 10x, right? So it just depends on, I think, okay, so IREN, I think easily can do a 5 to 10x. CORZ, I think, can do maybe even better than that. I think they can do like 5 to 15, maybe 20x, right? Because they've been beaten down so much because of bankruptcy and things like that. So that's kind of where I'm looking at things as far as where could my capital be deployed most, what's the word I'm looking for? Most advantageously, right? I really like IREN. I started getting into them in November, December of last year, but slowly, because I wanted to get it more into Bitfarms because I saw Bitfarms being undervalued as well. But Bitfarms allocation is now complete, so I wanted to buy more into IREN, and IREN came out with the information that they are going to be getting to 40 exahash. So that basically messed up all my plans that I was thinking about now getting more into IREN, because I didn't think the stock was going to rocket like it did. So that threw me off there. So that's why I'm saying maybe I'll start getting into CORZ. I think CORZ had a good quarter in Q1. I expect good things to come from them going forward as well. And that one I think is more of a high risk, high reward potential there on it. But I still want to get more IREN. But yeah, I don't know what the price would be to where it might not make sense. I think at a point where you think it's only going to make like 2x or 3x, I mean, even at that point, it's still pretty good, right? If you can make 2x or 3x on something compared to the regular S&P 500 over a year or over 6 or 12 months, you're probably going to be better off anyways, right? So it just depends on what your risk tolerance is and things like that, but obviously not financial advice as always. Let's see. Question, did you see Biden holding Cleanspark's 19 million? Yeah, we just talked about that. I was surprised by that. I thought it was two different sites, because why would they hold U.S. company buying out a Chinese company from being next to a Minuteman site, right? Didn't make any sense. So maybe that gets worked out. We'll see. Let's see here. Your thoughts on companies building out their own infrastructure or buying it from previous owners, which is better in the long term? Depends on the pricing, right? We have seen pricing all over the board here. So we saw IREN's building out like 750,000 per megawatt. We saw also Hut 8 coming in at like 200 some thousand, or maybe even less than that, around there. But depending on the infrastructure that they're building out, you can have a multi-purpose data center like IREN's building, or you can have what Hut 8, what I've seen is just basically these shipping containers being placed on the spot, right? So it makes it pretty fast, quick, and easy, and inexpensive to build out that way. And then you can also have companies like Cleanspark, where they've been going in at these sites that have 15, 20, maybe 50 megawatts, and then expanding that megawatts to further increase the size of those facilities as well. And they're paying like around 300 some thousand per megawatt on that, which is a better way to do it. I guess it all depends on what your end goal is, right? IREN wants to be basically in Bitcoin mining and potentially into HPC AI side of things as well, which their data centers would suit for that. Cleanspark just wants to be the best Bitcoin miner that they can be, so they're looking at sites where they can quickly grow into them, because they do have a lot of orders in place. So there's pluses and benefits, pluses or minuses to all of those, right? Cost is obviously a plus or a minus depending on what you're doing, and then where you're going forward from that. It's not an easy thing to assess. It just depends on the miner and what they're trying to reach, or what their goals are. Let's see. If you had access to 50,000 available cash a day, would you continue to slowly DCA into IREN or place larger buy orders? Wow. Yeah, that's a tough question. Let's take a look at IREN stock. Let me see here. Let me pull that up right now. Let's take a look at it, see what it's done so far, and then maybe we can get some answers from it. So here we go. Let's take a look at IREN here. IREN, obviously, a huge growth here. Obviously, when that news came out here, it is up quite tremendously. I mean, we had a nice downturn here on, what was it, Thursday, and then we bounced back up on Friday. I was hoping that we would kind of maybe come back down here to around the $6 range. Never happened, obviously. And then we're kind of getting some resistance here around, what is this, the Fibonacci retracement level of 0.78, it looks like maybe. If that gets broken and we close above that, I think we're going back up higher here to around the $10 range. So it's tough. RSI is also pretty high, but that's coming down here. We are also higher in price than we were prior, and the RSI is lower than prior as well. So that leads me to believe that the stock is going to continue to go up. So if you have, I would say maybe instead of putting all 50,000 into it, I would maybe put in half of it, and then maybe wait for a dip potentially, right? Because I just don't know if it's going to continue to go up. If it does, great. Then you can also buy in a little bit higher potentially, but it's tough. Yeah, not financial advice. You got to do what's best for you or what you think is best for you. Let's go back here to the Q&A side of things. Okay. Tornadoes touching down in Texas. Are you worried at all for the miners located in Texas? I mean, they're kind of all over the place here in Texas, depending on the miners. You got Riot in there, you got Marathon, you got Cypher in there as well. IREN is in there as well. Who else? There might be another couple other ones. I think CORZ in there as well. BitDeer's in there. So you got quite a few miners there, and it just all depends on where they're located, and hopefully the miners don't strike them. I mean, if they do strike them, obviously it's going to probably wipe out a building or two or something like that, depending on the path of the tornado. And then obviously they got insurance for it, so the insurance would cover all the expenses there. So it would obviously be not good in the short term, meaning that it would take them probably 6 months to 12 months to get that facility back up and running. But maybe insurance would cover the loss of revenue at that point. I don't know. Right. So hopefully they have pretty good insurance there. Let's see. Prediction about IREN end of year share price. Well, they're at almost, what is it, $7 now or something like that. What are they at right now? As of Friday, they were at 783. I think that depending where Bitcoin goes up to 100,000. That's basically a 50% increase on Bitcoin. You're looking at maybe 2 to 3x from where IREN is right now, potentially. Right, something like that. The Bitfarms and Hut 8 conservative price predictions by 2024 BTC touches 100 and 150,000. So again, 50% to 100,000 for Bitcoin. You're looking at Bitfarms being 2 to 3x. We go 150, that's basically 100% on it. Then you're looking at maybe more like 4 to 5x on those guys. More so on Bitfarms, I think. Hut 8, they have a huge hodl position, but no real growth on their self Bitcoin mining. That's questionable there. I don't know how the market's going to reward them for that. Recently, it has not rewarded them at all for it. Their market cap is basically their hodl position. It's like 80% of that right now. So I would say Bitfarms possibly could definitely do a little bit better. Let's see. Have you heard any updates on the Riot kind of site? What is the expected exahash once the site is completely deployed? I don't know what once it's fully deployed. I don't know if that's a 1 gigawatt site. Depending on the machines that get in there, it's going to be substantial, obviously. They currently have a roadmap to get to, 40 exahash, I think. Let me take a look at Riot here. What do we have here? Yeah, 40 exahash right now. And that's also swapping out some of the older miners at Rockdale as well. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I don't know what the potential is of it. We'd have to run some numbers on it, and depending on the miners they get in there. But I haven't heard any updates yet. We'll get updates from Riot, obviously, after June or in June sometime when they actually report for May. Maybe we'll get some updates there. Let's see. I'm going to Cleanspark Retail Investor Conference at Norcross this Thursday. What questions should I ask them? Thanks. I mean, if you can ask them, that's great that you're going there. I was invited to go there as well. I'm a shareholder of Cleanspark as well. Once you see a mining farm, they're all pretty much the same. It's just depending on the design of the building and things like that. There's not much else that can go in there. I haven't seen an immersion one. The immersion one would be kind of cool, and I think that's where they're having their conference, investor conference there. Things I would ask him, obviously, what's going on with the site in Wyoming? They bought 2 sites there. I don't even know if they can share that information. That's going to be obviously inside information, so probably can't share that. And then they have obviously miners to get to 50 exahash, and they're scheduled to be delivered this year. Are they actually planning to get to 50 exahash this year? That's kind of what I would ask them. Other than that, operations are great. There's no really concerns there. It's just what's in the pipeline for infrastructure. That's the big question that we have here, obviously. I've seen conservative price targets for Mara of 74 this cycle. Would you agree with that? Lower, higher? I think it can go higher, actually, with Bitcoin. Depending where Bitcoin goes, it always revolves around Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes higher than 100, 150,000 or something like that. We could see, obviously, Marathon reaching a new all-time high that it reached in previous cycle. But they also have to grow, obviously, to the, what are they trying to get to 50 exahash this year? If they can do that, price is going to be much higher for them. Let's see. Why do you think Cleanspark have not publicly updated on the halt or posted anything on it? I think they were kind of sidelined, not sidelined, but sideswiped by the information, right? They weren't expecting that. So I think they're trying to get, maybe figure out what's going on. And I'm sure the lawyers are talking with the U.S. government and all that stuff in there before they can actually maybe respond to it all, get as much information on it. But yeah, it's taking a while here. Yeah, but I was under the impression it was a different site altogether because it didn't make any sense to me. Why would the U.S. government ban a public U.S. Bitcoin company buying it? Didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, it would be nice to know some more information. Maybe we'll get that information when they report for the May update. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. I see maybe one more question. Let's see. What is the institutional inflow looking right now for the mining companies? Last time I checked was about 2 weeks ago or something like that. It was actually growing for the miners. So that was obviously a good sign there. We had only, I think, one miner that was decreasing on them. Month over month, I think it was. Okay. Let's see here. I think I got one more maybe popping up here. There it is. Okay. Good evening, Sebastian. Good evening to you. Always grateful for your insight. Question: do you believe Bitfarms announces a new CEO next Monday, along with BTC Mined and their 10 exahash execution update? I don't know why they would wait until they report for the May update. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it, obviously, and they're going to report it whenever it happens, because I think that's the main thing I think that's keeping the stock down right now, just the FUD around that. And their, let's see, 10 exahash execution update. Yeah, I have to see how close they got to the 10 exahash that they were targeting for May, right? 12 exahash by the end of June. So if they get close to that, like within, I would say maybe half an exahash to an exahash, they're at 7 now. That would get them to 9 exahash potentially at that point. So like 9 and between 9 and 10 somewhere, I think that'd be pretty good. Or we better hear some better good explanation as to why they couldn't be able to reach it. Based on that stuff. All right, but that is it. It looks like we are done with the questions here. So I really appreciate you guys coming in here to watch this. If you have any questions, hit me up on the comments. Obviously, I will get to those. I've been busy this weekend, so I do have quite a few questions from you guys in the comments on the videos to get through. I will get through those later on this week, possibly tomorrow during my lunch break. I'll just hammer through those. And then what else we have coming up here? That is it. May is ending in just a couple of days here. We'll get, obviously, the reports for the May production updates from the miners as well, and we'll see where everything goes at that point. Okay? But that's it. Thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate you guys. Hope you guys had a great weekend. We'll get back in the swing of things this week. We'll see where everything ends at that point. All right? So have a great week. Hopefully Bitcoin goes to the upside, and so do the miners. I'll see you guys next one.